Hello, everybody. We're getting started soonish. Let me, you know what? Let's just bring us in. There. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Oh, boy. Hello. We did it.
All right. So I have not brought up the music. Let me do that. Nintendogs. Red Wings are down 5-0. They're still going to come back and win. Okay, so let's do this.
My team lost the Copa Libertadores over Bobby. God damn, that was loud.
That's pretty loud.
Bit loud.
It's a bit loud, but
no,
it's okay. It's good. It's good.
Just a little.
Hey, you guys hear me?
Start
cheering now.
I think so.
Let's get this over
okay,
with.
that won't affect chat. Chat, you're just going to be as loud as it. I don't know why it's so loud. Maybe Stream Deck updated and reset their defaults. Okay, that's good.
That's good. We good.
Yeah.
We good.
Who's
You're
hosting?
making good.
I'm going to host.
Who's hosting?
Okay.
You're gonna host.
Me. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to host.
I'm gonna host.
I would have more
I'm
faith in
gonna
AJ
host.
hosting.
Oh, me too.
Considering I have nothing set up, it probably wouldn't go well.
Are you saying that they have stuff set up?
Yeah,
Like-
I don't have anything set up. All right, there's that.
Surprisingly, it's more than me.
Okay.
Hey, you remember how the show goes more than these guys do.
That's true.
Because I actually listened to it.
Exactly.
Okay, all right. Let's that's tested. That's good. I think we're good. Let me get the rundown there. You're there. And I think we are good to go. AJ, you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, let me see if I can remember how to do this. I'm going to have to turn down the volume manually. Boom, 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 boom. AJ, can you talk real quick?
I'm talking now.
That's
How's that
good.
sound?
That's perfect. Okay. All right, let's do this. I'm gonna count us in. We'll get started. Starting in 5, 4, 3.
Hey, you guys hear me? Start cheering now. Yeah, let's get this over with. Yeah.
Woof woof. Hi, I'm Jeff Grubb, and I am a Nintendog.
Hi, I'm AJ Minotti, and I am a Nintendog.
And we are the last of the Nintendogs. Thank you so much. Today's episode, there's a live-action Zelda movie confirmed. It happened. And Nintendo's making a lot of fucking money. So it's all happening for Nintendo. We started today. Not that much news. They gave us some news to talk about. We'll get into all of that here pretty soon. But first, Ash Guy, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, Jeff. I'm getting over a very bad sinus infection, so
Oof.
I've got my cough drops. I'll be hitting my mute button. Bear with me, everybody, but I think I'll be okay to, survive this endeavor. But yeah, I'm excited to be here while my brother is apparently drunk in Disney World right now.
Just constantly drunk there in Disney World. He's been posting some pictures, not screenshots. Although they look like screenshots, they look like he's been photoshopping stuff. And it looks like he's having a good time. He said that he was in line for, what was it, guys? Christian, Sean, what was he doing when he was
Frozen something?
Oh, yeah, he did the Frozen sing-along, which apparently he said was very good. We've never done that before.
Yeah, so he did the Frozen sing-along.
What is that? Like, what you say Frozen sing-along? I have no
They actually have performers, as the characters out on stage singing the songs from the movie, but, like, the audience is encouraged to sing along with them.
Oh, it's like a stage show?
Yeah. But it's not like the story of Frozen. It's literally like, and now Elsa's going to come out and sing Let It Go. But there's a little more production than that. But
neat. Expensive karaoke, says Cascoder, and hey, that sounds like a good time to me.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, so you're getting over the sinus infection. I've been busy and tired. Did you vote? Did you get a chance to vote today? I did. Just
I
made
had my
it.
sticker. I had to give it to one of my kids because they were upset they didn't get a sticker.
Yes, yeah,
of course.
totally.
She's actually really upset because last election they were giving away really cheap like the tablet stylus to sign your name with.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Instead of reusing one for, because we're still like kind of COVID, but this time they just had one for everybody. So I had to tell her, like, no, you didn't get a cheap stylus this time, which is very sad.
Wow, that's a shame. I did use their stylus that they had, and it was very nice, actually. They were cheap. But when I signed my name on there, like the machine they were using for signing was like, oh man, this feels like calligraphy almost. So it was very pleasant.
That flowing Jeff Grubb script.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, it's just really
the F's come down real nice and swooping.
Yeah, I need to be able to show off all my skill of writing my name, which is actually
your
complete
beautiful
dog shit.
penmanship.
Yeah, my completely dog shit penmanship. That was a hard thing to say. Yeah, it's voted, but it's been nonstop over here. So I'm ready to just like get into this episode, talk about some Nintendo news, talk about our topic, which is N64 hidden gems. If you are watching live, of course, you could drop a super chat and you want to tell us what your N64 hidden gem is. We'll read it on the show. We're going to read all of those before the end of the program. Ash Guy, would you mind being in charge of reading the super chats? Do you have a way to do that?
I don't have the super chats, but I do have the hidden gems.
Okay, then how about we'll flip-flop? I'll do the super chats, you get the hidden gems.
We could do that.
That works for me. Awesome. That's almost something we could have talked about before we started, but that's not how you do things on a professional podcast. But yeah, I got some Nintendo news. You ready to jump in?
Yeah, let's do it. Take me to Tinseltown, Jeff.
Let's go to the City of Stars, where live-action Zelda has been confirmed. Nintendo will develop a live-action film of The Legend of Zelda, and I'm going to reiterate, live-action. This is with real actors. This will not be an animated film. The film will be produced by Hollywood hotshot producer, one of the hottest producers in Hollywood. Let me see if I get this name right. Shigeru Miyamoto. And then
I've heard of him.
And then Avi Arad, whose name I always just kind of read. I've never really said out loud. So Avi Arad is how I think you say it. He's been producing nerd movies my entire life. I most remember him as the guy that was responsible for bringing Spider-Man and X-Men to the big screen back originally when like those first set of like good hero movies were coming out. But since then,
the first superhero film he produced was 2003's Daredevil.
Yes, so he definitely had some misses in there as well. Yeah, he has had a bit of a miss recently. A series of misses. I don't think he's done a good movie in a while, but I'm not exactly keeping up on him.
That Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse was a piece of shit.
Well, his name, yes, I think he's attached to Mobius is Morbius. Morbius.
He's the Sony action comic book guy. I mean, he produced Venom,
right? And I don't think they could do Spider-Man without him. I think he's like intrinsically hooked into there. So I think he's always been involved with those movies, whether he's really kind of doing much of the producing or not. This is, I'm hopeful and excited. I will say that I think there's a decent chance that this project actually happens. They have a director. His name is Wes Ball. He did most recently. He's doing that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movie that isn't out yet, so we don't know how it is. But he did the Maze Runner movies, which I think people think aren't very good.
Those movies are okay. The first one is pretty good. The sequels are not that great.
They're all in the 6 range of star ratings on IMDb. He also was a graphics designer on the Star Trek films of recent years.
That's interesting.
I don't know what that means, but that's like his IMDb is like art department, Star Trek, Cirque du Freak, and then the Maze Runner movies.
Well, either way, I'm not too worried about the director yet. Like, they still have to figure out so much of what this movie's going to look like.
Right, obviously, we don't know anything about the cast.
Right.
We don't know anything about, story. Are they going to tell an original story? Will this be a retelling of something like that?
Well, hey, there's a question. What do you think they should do?
That's tough because, again, you go back into the whole Zelda timeline thing. Where's this gonna fit into everything? Is it its own thing? Is it a retelling? I mean, Ocarina of Time, the thing it has going for it is it does kind of smoothly introduce everything. As far as who these characters are, you set up stakes in the beginning, but then do you do a movie where you have to spend the first act setting up these characters as children to then abandon that for the second and third act with basically a whole new cast. So I don't know. It could go any direction they want, I guess. It's,
Yeah.
that's the good thing. You have a broad tapestry. It doesn't have to be one thing. It could draw from multiple Zelda sources if they wanted to.
Yeah, I listen. I think the thing that they're most likely to do will be Ocarina of Time. I think there's a way to do that without it being too like jarring when they switch to a different timeline or a different time period of those characters' lives. But I think it would probably be smart. Speaking to what you were saying there, it's like, let maybe establish things here a little bit more. Just start with the original Zelda story, and the Zelda story being like, "Hey, go out and get these Triforce pieces," and then you could. There's so much blanks that you can fill in as a writer at that point. Don't get too weird about like feeling the need to fill in every blank. I think if you make a movie that is just kind of an adventure story about someone having to collect some shit and then meeting some cool characters along the way, you could probably bring in some like Impa like characters, stuff like that, but not a huge cast. And just if you get that off the ground and it's successful, then in the later movies, you could start playing around with some of these other ideas and do Ocarina of Time at that point or something like that, or Link to the Past and have the Dark World and all these things. I don't know. Do you have any idea about who they should cast? Obviously, people want to make the Chris Pratt joke. That didn't even occur to me.
Of course. I feel like it's a good opportunity for a relatively unknown.
Yeah, I agree.
You're probably gonna go someone like not Tom Holland, because that joke's already been made too, but someone who has that kind of look where they're actually like their mid-late 20s, but they can play younger than that, so that they're kind of good to go for this for a while. That's probably the right path. But, let Ganon be like your Gary Oldman-esque actor who, dumbs himself down to be in this video game movie for children because it's, for his grandkids, they have something to watch him in or whatever it is. I don't know who that would be at this point.
Yeah, but I like I said, excited. I think it probably will happen, but like that probably is at like 51-52%, not 90% sure that this can actually go.
Remember when John Woo was going to make a Metroid movie?
Yeah, God, there was so many. Who else was going to make a Metroid? Well, I guess that was a commercial that guy did that did Dark City. I can't remember, David Proyas or something like that. He did that Metroid commercial, and everyone's like, maybe you should just make a movie because that commercial actually looked pretty neat. And then how many people were going to make Halo at this point? And someone's been working on Metal Gear Solid for the last 10 years or something like that. This happens all the time. It just does feel like there's momentum behind Nintendo in Hollywood right now. And with Shigeru Miyamoto
Mario
involved.
Was so successful.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Zelda seems like the other franchise from Nintendo that does have that Mario-like appeal. I mean, nothing really has Mario-like appeal, but this is pretty close. And, the proof is in how well these games are selling. The Zelda games sell very, very well. I mean, 20 million copies already for Tears of the Kingdom. We'll get into more of that here in a second. But do you have any insight into why they didn't work with Universal for this? Is it just that maybe they're bidding more?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just this desire to diversify so they're not tied down to any one studio. Like, let Universal focus on Mario so you don't distract them from that. There's a again, live action. Maybe they liked what Sony offered them as far as production capability, and again, Avi has this kind of history of these big budget effects heavy films. Maybe he put together a good pitch for this. A myriad of reasons. I just wonder if this means that the exclusive console rights to the game based off the film make it a PS5 exclusive.
I think that's what this means, right? Yeah, I mean,
clearly,
Sony's got Spider-Man and the Spider-Man games. They got the Zelda movies. So that means they must be getting the Zelda games.
Of course.
We might have mentioned it, but yeah, Sony co-producing this, and they're co-funding it. Nintendo said that they will be spending more than half of the money will be coming from them in like more than 50%, so that they will be mostly responsible for it, and that means they'll also reap more of the reward. But Sony will distribute the movie worldwide, so when this movie's in theaters, you're going to probably get Sony Pictures, maybe it's Columbia, TriStar. I honestly don't know how that stuff works. Probably we'll just say Sony Pictures, I assume. But that's weird, right? That's really weird. Listen, Avi Arad, that everyone like, oh yeah, they point out that's weird. I don't know why that's weird. I haven't been paying close enough attention. Sony and Nintendo working together to make a Zelda movie is a very funny sentence.
Right, but again, as you've often said, Sony Pictures and Sony Gaming, it may as well be two different companies.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, they are as big as PlayStation is, as much as it should be like running that entire organization. It's still like, oh no, those other verticals inside of Sony doing their own thing, and then occasionally they come hand in hand to PlayStation and say, hey, can we get involved with the stuff you're doing? Can we turn your games into movies and all this other stuff? But you're right. Yep. Those are very, very, very separate things. And yeah, this will have no effect on the games whatsoever. Of course, this is a different business almost entirely. All right. I mean, any other thoughts here? Again, there's not much to go on, but yeah, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Mario movies, so if they can keep that kind of quality bar intact, and since it's not an Illumination, we won't get No Sleep Till Brooklyn playing in this movie too. So that's good. So yeah, we'll wait and see. We will wait and see.
In the meantime, Nintendo is going to keep making a ton of money. They, in fact, made more money than they predicted they would. They reported better than expected sales and profit for its fiscal second quarter. Revenue was about $2.2 billion. Net profit was 90.3 billion yen, which I didn't translate, but let's just go with it.
A lot of yen.
That's a lot of yen. Just for reference, the revenue was at 334.9 billion Japanese yen, which is about $2.2 billion. Sales in the first half of the fiscal year were the largest since the launch of the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo raised its full year forecasts. Net sales for its fiscal year, which ended March 2024, will be approximately 1.58 trillion yen, and net profit will be 420 billion yen. This is how it should ideally work if everything is going right? Where it's the consoles sales are slowing down everywhere except for Japan. The Switch is selling worse this year than it did last year, and like by a significant measurable margin. But so what? Everyone has a Switch, and now they're buying games which have a much bigger profit margin than the consoles do, at least traditionally. And so this is where they're making their money, by selling a ton of games to a huge audience that's still buying a ton of stuff for the Switch, obviously led by Tears of the Kingdom, which again sold almost 20 million copies since it launched as of September 30th.
And for $70 instead of $60,
and for $70 instead of $60. So that is really just bringing a lot of money to the bank for them. They have a ton of momentum. When you look at this company, do you think that they're going to be able to carry this forward as they get into this transition to the next Switch?
I think so. I mean, they have this benefit, and this was the case last time around too. They're not going to be competing against new Sony and Microsoft consoles. So you don't have anything else like kind of sucking up people's gaming hardware budget whenever this may happen, if assuming it's next year. Again, the Switch has phenomenal momentum. I mean, the worry, I guess, is that they don't leave a good thing alone, that they're like, oh, we can't do a Switch 2. We have to really change it up. And I don't think people want that anymore. Like, my kids play the Switch, love the Switch. They want more Switch. And I'm the same way. So as long as they don't have another Wii U repeat where they kind of overthink it too much. Right. I see no reason, especially if they get the backwards compatibility right, because that is what will kill it. If my daughter plays so much Minecraft on her Switch, if I hand her a Switch 2 and say, here you go, honey, Switch 2, there's a new Mario game on it. But if you want to play Minecraft, you're gonna have to go get your other Switch out. Now you got to keep track of 2 devices. That's not gonna fly.
Yeah, how do you feel about the recent rumor, or I guess rumor/speculation, that Mario RPG, maybe something, another Nintendo thing, and then this third-party fashion designer game are all using the Super Famicom button color organization for their button prompts, and people think this is alluding to, and there's rumors out there that were suggesting this, that a Super Nintendo Switch will come out, and that'll be the next thing, and we'll have a Super Nintendo like look and feel to it. Does that make sense to you when you hear it?
So you're saying like it could be branded as like a Super Switch, the way Nintendo was Super Nintendo?
So like, we had the Nintendo, and then we had the Super Nintendo, and we had the DS and the 3DS. Nintendo sometimes does this with their most successful consoles, where they kind of just make it that but more. And then for what the way that they are going to brand it, it's, again, all rumor and speculation, would be Super Nintendo Switch, and so Super Famicom, the red, green, yellow, and blue buttons that you saw on the Super Famicom are showing up in several games now. So I mean,
if it was just Mario RPG, I'd chalk it up to being the charm of the remake.
Agreed.
But if it's other stuff, I mean, there could be some fire under that smoke. Yeah. I've always said I think something like that. You know, it needs to be a preceding descriptor. Wii U, it sounded like an add-on, but you know,
good point.
Super Switch, I think people understand that. Same thing with even, you know, as lame as it was, new Nintendo 3DS. You knew what you were getting into there. It wasn't like the DSi. I don't think people truly understood what that was. But that didn't matter so much, so like it wasn't a big deal. It was just a kind of light refresh. So yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with that. I think that would succinctly say what this system is. People understand that transition.
Yeah, and I think I'm getting on board with people who want to buy into this rumor that this is what's happening here. I mean, I did hear the name Super Nintendo Switch years ago, but that was easy to chalk up to, well, that's a clever thing. That would be cool. I get that. And also that always felt like, oh, that's a really good name for a half-gen refresh. But like you said, like if you are trying to carry forward that momentum and you make it the moniker is like leading into the name Super Nintendo Switch, you're right. That does imply something more than Wii U or DSi. So yeah, good point.
You guys know what else has used that coloring scheme for the buttons before?
No, but you're gonna tell us.
The new 3DS.
Oh, no. The new 3DS in Japan, not the XL.
Both of them used it. On the XL, it's only the lettering on it, and then the smaller one that was released in Europe and Japan, yeah, they're entirely colored like that. So a little bit of a history there. So it's not out there on a possibility that is what's
of course
happening here.
This could also just be some Super Nintendo themed Joy-Cons launching with Mario RPG.
Yep, very good point. Like, yeah, don't get your hopes up too much, everybody, but wouldn't that be cool?
That would be cool. I'd get those.
Yep, I would. Yeah, I would too. Let's see here. So yeah, Nintendo raised its forecast, and then Tears of the Kingdom's at 19.5 million copies sold. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was Nintendo's second most popular game for the quarter, I think is what they're trying to say here. The Mario movie generated more than $1 billion at the box office. That also contributed to them raising their expectations for the year. Nintendo Switch has sold over 132 million units. The Switch OLED is currently the most popular model, which was never true, actually, for like when the Xbox and the PlayStation 4 got their mid-gen refreshes, the Pro and the Xbox One X. The One X might have been more popular at some point, but for PS4, the PS4 Pro is never a better seller than the PS4 base model. So them being able to be like, it's only $50 more, that probably helps, but that OLED is a big improvement.
I think that speaks to how many people do play this in handheld as opposed to docked as well, if the better screen is that important.
Yes, agreed. And then Pikmin 4 has sold 2.61 million copies. It is the best-selling Pikmin game of all time. I would love for it to do even better. A lot of that success is coming from Japan, where it's sold over, I think they said nearly half or maybe more than half of those copies have come from Japan alone.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so Japan really fell in love with Pikmin hard with Pikmin 4, and that's great. That means we will get more likely, because Nintendo still kind of loves to cater to that audience, which I think is a great thing. It means we get some interesting games on a Nintendo. But boy, I wish the rest of the world would wake up to how good Pikmin 4 is, which it really, really is. And then let's see here. We have digital sales accounted for 50.2% of total software sales. So it's a good measuring stick. It's like usually when a game sold this much physically, you could probably double that and be pretty close to its total sales. And then we have a list of the best-selling Switch games, which I'm pretty sure is unchanged from the last time we got this list, except for like now the numbers are all bigger.
More.
Yes, more. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe at 57.01 million copies. And then the one that always gets me is Super Mario Party at 19.66 million copies. Just a juggernaut.
That's insane.
A quiet juggernaut that no one ever thinks or cares about, because it's not very good, but that doesn't matter for Super Mario Party. And then, New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe is the 10th best-selling game on the Switch, and it is a 16.7 million unit seller. it will likely, I would imagine, be eclipsed by like Wonder before it's all is said and done.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Let's learn that lesson, Nintendo.
Well, exactly. Wonder, when did Wonder launch? I guess it was like
October 20th.
Okay. So that obviously didn't factor into these, but I think they did confirm somewhere that it sold like 800,000 copies pretty quickly. I imagine that's going to have long legs for a very long time.
Yeah, that'll be a big holiday game for a lot of people, I'm sure.
Wasn't it like 600,000 in Japan alone or something like that? Or maybe that was something else.
I didn't see.
So yeah, the game's doing just fine. Yeah, during all this though, Nintendo had a call with investors, and they addressed some rumors about the Switch 2 and how it was shown off to people at Gamescom, specifically game developers. They also talked about a dual screen patent that they filed. And for the former, they said, no, that's not accurate. For the latter, they said it's not a big deal. And this is Shintaro Furukawa for both of these things, kind of just downplaying both sides. Do you, when a CEO comes out and says that's inaccurate about a story like, hey, Eurogamer, VGC, and Windows Central all said that this happened at Gamescom. How much do you buy the CEO is telling the full truth there?
Inaccurate is one of those gray words, right?
Yeah, it is.
False is pretty black and white. You know, calling it inaccurate is saying, you know, this didn't happen at Gamescom. It was at a hotel suite just outside of Gamescom. So it didn't happen at Gamescom. So it's inaccurate to say it happened at Gamescom. That's what inaccurate means to me.
And you'd be like, well, why would they be so petty about this stuff? Turns out they will. They would be.
It's Nintendo.
It's Nintendo.
You should know better than most about how petty Nintendo could be.
Yes, and so I just wouldn't be surprised if all that stuff went down exactly as. I mean, this has happened with Eurogamer a bunch. Eurogamer and myself got called out by Pete Parsons and Bungie about like, hey, Microsoft was like sniffing around about how much they were gonna be worth, and then Pete Parsons was like, this never happened, or he didn't say it like that. He said the inaccuracy thing. He's like, this isn't accurate, and so this happens frequently, and usually in the long run we find out that the reporting was true, especially when it's coming from multiple reputable sources at the same time. And then for the patent, that one, I totally buy. I totally buy that is inconsequential. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, companies patent everything, whether they intend to build it or not, you know, to just squat on the right in case they want to revisit that idea. Yeah, that's nothing new.
And then let's see here. There's a new Black Friday Switch bundle starting November 19th. Select retailers and the My Nintendo store will offer the Nintendo Switch OLED model system plus Super Smash Bros. Ultimate as a full game download, plus 3 months of Nintendo Switch Online individual membership bundle at a suggested retail price of $350. As a reminder, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate came out like 5 years ago or something like that. So
still very popular.
Always. Where is it on the list of the top? Yes, it's number 3, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, 32.44 million. Sold another 670,000 copies last quarter and will probably do even better now that it's a bundle. There's a Sean note here. This one's a bit odd since it's a standard Switch OLED compared with the Smash logo Joy-Cons from the actual Switch-themed console from 2018. So they're mashing parts together now and to have more bundles.
Now they would have had to, in theory, make a new dock because the dock has a design, but it have to be the new OLED version of the dock with Ethernet built into it. But yeah, that's what I thought when I saw this. I was like, they did this before, right?
Yep.
And that console, the Switch itself had some theming on the back plate. This will not. So this is literally just Joy-Cons and a dock with a standard OLED Switch.
Yep. It reminds me. I mean, this is a better use of things laying around. It reminds me of like, hey, for our PlayStation VR, let's just use Move because we have a bunch of those controllers just sitting around. So let's make that make sense. Yeah, clearing stock out, making sure that you are using every part of the buffalo when it comes to the manufacturing lines that you set up for the Switch as you look to start phasing things out. Makes a lot of sense. And then we say that, who knows, maybe for the next 5 years, this bundle will still be in stores. We'll see. And then let's see. Retro Studios once pitched a Portal-esque game, and Nintendo's quote, didn't get it. Exclusive new info and footage from the latest Did You Know Gaming video reveals. Retro was putting together the Prime Trilogy collection for Wii and trying to figure out what their next big project was going to be. Adept was a pitch for a first-person puzzle game similar to Portal, featuring gameplay revolving around various cylinders, which are player-created pillars of light coming out of the ground that had different properties. They would have teleportation, force, and attraction for pushing and pulling objects or the player, and various elemental ones for solving puzzles. Prime 2 and 3 programmer Paul Tozor made the prototype and pitched it to Kensuke Tanabe, Kensuke Tanabe, but it didn't click with him. According to Paul, Nintendo Japan is very insular, and there is very much a not invented here syndrome. At one point, I bought a copy of Portal, tried to give it to Kensuke Tanabe, tried to explain to them, I'm going to pitch you this game concept, but could you please take a look at this, because it's amazing, and it'll help you understand what I'm going to pitch. And they said, sorry, we can't accept gifts, company policy. Sean says he wanted to shout this out because, while Did You Know Gaming probably titled this video 8 canceled Nintendo games from Retro for the SEO, it's really a 43-minute mini doc that should be titled The Story of Retro Games. It's a great watch. Thought listeners of the show should be interested, would be interested.
The Story of Retro Studios, but yes.
Yes, excuse me, yes. I've been meaning to watch this. I haven't had time to do so yet, but I will get around to it. They've been doing great work over at Did You Know Gaming for the last several years now, so very cool. All right. That's going to do it for the news. We're going to take a break. When we get back, we'll do some super chats, and then we'll get into our topic and all that right after this.
Break.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm fine. Just holding it in.
Had me there.
What did I hit the wrong button there? There we go. There we go.
Break.
I did have that day, you know, like when you're getting over being sick like this and it's just all mucus trying to get out. And I was like in the shower and I'm like trying to like get this I could feel this in there and I just wanted to come out and I'm coughing. I'm like, the only way I'm going to get this up is by basically gagging myself and throwing it up. So that's what I had to do.
Man, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I know that feeling though. I know.
But my wife's like, what's going on? Are you dying? Like just working out some stuff.
A little bit.
I'm good.
A little bit of dying. All right.
Being an adult, goddammit. Leave me alone.
Let's see. I got the super chats here. Okay. Let's bring it back in.
Okay.
And we're back. And I'm going to read some super chats, starting with Nintendogs, who says, primarily for Jeff, do you think this movie was the Zelda news you heard about earlier this year? That's interesting. I don't think so, but again, I'll reiterate. What I was told was something Zelda related, not Tears of the Kingdom related, later this year. And I wasn't told anything else. So when I shared it, I was like trying to be very clear about that I don't know. So you and I can both guess, Nintendogs, is this it? If it is, cool. I assumed that this year meant something was going to release this year, though. So I don't know if that's what that meant, but that's what I was told.
Why do you think they announced it the way they did, where it's just like Shiggy tweets it, that like we're like at the very beginning? Is it like because like casting calls are going to start coming up and people would have figured it out, you think?
Yeah, and this is how Hollywood normally does movie announcements, right? This is not the first time I've seen a press release announcing a big movie project getting into the works. So I think this is just normal. There might be, I don't know if there's rules about the way that they do it. It seems like the way that they do it is so uniform that I would assume there might be rules involved. But part of it could just be like exactly what you said, that there is going to be there's going to be news coming out because they're going to get to work on this, and so they have to just announce it. And also, this will help them attract talent to their production companies and all that stuff. From Jez C, I don't like Nintendo. Thanks, Jez. I appreciate it. Appreciate you showing up even when you don't like Nintendo. I always appreciate the support. Glad you're doing well, buddy. L. Greg says, so is Mike just getting drunk and bullying kids on this boat and taking their plastic Disney medals, or is he just the Highlander of Disney adults? I don't know. Ash guy, speak up for your brother.
Well, he's off the boat now. Now he's just at regular Disney World. But that's generally what we do. Anytime that opportunity presents itself. There was a before COVID, a local bar had trivia nights, and there was a Disney trivia night, and Mike would go to this, but Chris and I were like, we're coming. And we steamrolled those people and showed them no mercy. So it's just what we have to do. You got to assert your dominance,
Of course. When I played Jeopardy with Mike, I'm like, this man would never show any mercy. He just absolutely would not. So, yeah.
You heard him scream Super Bell Hill.
Yes.
Like, that's the energy he brings to any trivia competition. Mike likes knowing things.
Yeah.
So when he knows it, he wants everyone to know that he knows it.
That's good stuff. All right. T-Bucket 23. Hey, dogs, a couple of TGA prediction questions. How many nominations will Pikmin 4 get? And will Miyamoto be there to announce that Chris Pratt will play Link in the Zelda movie? I think definitely yes for that. I think Pikmin 4 will be lucky to get one. And I think that'll be family game.
Yeah,
I think it'll be lucky to get that. Well, they do have that strategy sim category, and now I'm remembering I didn't nominate the Pikmin 4 for that, so I should go back and do that. I don't think I put anything in that category now that I think about it.
I was trying to think what else came out in that category. I'm sure something I'm not thinking of, but yeah,
you could do like City Skylines too. It'd be weird to do that, but you could do that.
Yeah,
I don't know. You got a favorite for game of the year?
I mean, it's going to be Baldur's Gate 3. I think that, as far as some underdogs that could swoop in and take it, like you said, Armored Core has that From factor that always plays well with the Keeleys. Spider-Man could just be the mainstream favorite, and the recency bias might help it. So yeah, we'll see.
Shigeru Miyamoto writes in and says, "This is Miyamoto. Please be excited for movie. Me and Avi-san have been working hard on this for some time. Perhaps a certain cool Chris will make an appearance. His Link is unlike anything you've heard." Oh boy. Shiggy's very excited. I wonder if Shigeru Miyamoto still thinks Chris Miyamoto. He adopted him, everybody. He's adopted Chris Pratt. I wonder if he still thinks Chris Pratt is so cool.
No, he's very cool, obviously.
Our next super chat comes from Shigeru Miyamoto again. "Perhaps I will ask Avi-san for Jared Leto's phone number. Watching this Morbius movie, and wow, this is good stuff. Perhaps Beetle? Oh my God, Jared Leto as Beetle.
Baby.
That'd be funny. Like, yeah. I'd be okay with Jared Leto doing that and nothing else. I can't stand Jared Leto.
Sure, yeah, who can? Bander SN says, "Is Zelda acting, or is Zelda actually going to be the lead in this movie? Be weird to have the Zelda movie not star Zelda. Would also save a lot of parents the confusion." Yeah, I bet they still make it mostly about Link.
Yeah, I think Zelda's enough of a known quantity that people get it.
Yes, definitely. Let's see. Jason Fulton says, "Zelda movie, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Blue Tunic, or classic green tunic?" I think they start with the green tunic, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think you go with the green.
I think it's the kind of thing where it's like he's wearing a green tunic by the time like that movie, at least by the time that movie is reaching its zenith, and then if you have a post-credit scene, it's like Link,
or maybe you Wind Waker, you start in the blue tunic and then he graduates to the hero's tunic, the green.
That could work well as well. I think Wind Waker would work for a movie. Let's see. Chrono Rig says, "Hey Jeff, you almost died when the Mario movie cast was announced. Will you have some sort of medical personnel for this Zelda cast announcement? Lol." I want to.
He's gonna come up to Cleveland to stand by with you.
I want to think that it's it can't be as absurd as the animated movie cast was, because you could do so much more with the animated movie. But then I'll assume that and be proven very wrong. I'm sure we'll see. I think I'll have my life alert on, so if I fall and I can't get up, I'll hit my button and be good to go. Button. Yes, exactly. Let's see, from Mikey O'Leary, "I did the math wrong shirt when." Yeah, we'll that's a little spoiler for one of our shows, everybody, so don't worry about that, but we'll get that shirt up on the store in time for Christmas, don't you worry. And then Robert Cardoza, "What do you think about Batista playing Ganondorf?" I love it. I love that.
Yeah,
I think
I could be down with that.
He's got the timbre, right? Like his voice can reach that right register to be.
And he's got the physicality.
Yes, like that gravitas, both in physical presence and the way he speaks. I think he could pull it off. Yeah, that would be really cool.
Yeah, I support that choice.
Me too. All right, that does it for the super chats so far. But if anyone else wants to send in any, we will get to all of them again before the end of the program. Just hit them right here in chat. In the meantime, though, let's take one more quick break. When we get back, we're going to talk about our topic for the evening.
This is a break time.
You don't think we're going to need another break, right, Christian?
No, gonna be short.
Yeah. We're doing a.
Well, if it goes long, maybe do one
Wait,
more.
when the fuck did they score a second goal?
I don't think it's gonna go long.
Okay.
AJ, do you have the
thread? Yep, I got it.
Yes, he does.
Perfect.
Yes, he was already looking through it. I'm gonna bring it up myself so I can read along, which is the only way I can pay attention these days because I'm losing my mind. There we go.
I'm losing my mind.
Wait, did you put it in
It has to be
podcast
a song.
stuff? You did.
Yeah, I
Thank
did
you.
put it on
Thank you.
podcast stuff.
Help an old man out. Okay. We'll bring it back in,
That's right,
and
brother.
Ashka, I'll throw it to you pretty quickly. You ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's get back in there.
It's gonna come hot and heavy. Or I don't know.
No, you had it. You were right. And we're back. And today's topic for Last of the Nintendogs is N64 hidden gems. Now, this is kind of a tough one, Ash Guy, because there's not a ton of N64 games, really. It's a relatively...
You gotta dig deep.
Got to dig deep. It's a svelte library. So I've got some favorites for sure that I think at one point might have been considered more hidden gems, are less so at this point, maybe, especially for our listeners of this show, where I'm always talking about Excite Bike 64, a game that was mostly overlooked at the time and not like often remembered by a lot of people. But at this point, it's on Nintendo Switch Online, not going to count it. Ashka, you've got a bunch of stuff from the community in front of you, but before we get to that, what is your N64 hidden gem?
So, as a fan of the Ronald McDonald game on the Sega Genesis, I was very excited when Treasure released their first N64 game, Mischief Makers.
Yes.
A very colorful, unique 2D platformer with a grab and shake things mechanic that was just an absolute visual treat, a real delightful game. And it's one of those ones, it's hard to emulate because if you want to get into the weeds of it, there's this way that like 2D textures are rendered on the N64 that a lot of emulators don't get right, where the joints don't quite line up. You see this the most in the character select screen on Mario Kart 64 if you play it on an emulator that doesn't get this correct, and the tiles in this game kind of break. So I'm sure there's some way of getting it right with a patch or something. I've never gone that deep into it, but it is worth checking out if you want to figure that out for yourself, because that's not on NSO. It should be on NSO because it's a great game.
Yeah, I'm like, man, why is the N64 library taking so long? There's so many games that would be such good fits.
We has it been a year since they announced the games that aren't all out yet?
Yes.
When did that happen? Was it November?
I feel like, well, if it's not a full year, it's close enough. Right. We are like
that's pathetic.
It's really frustrating that that's how they're going to do this. I don't know. I mean, I just think Nintendo doesn't have a grasp about how we feel about N64 games at this point. It's like, I love the N64. It's 25 years ago. It's longer than that, right? Yeah.
96.
Jesus Christ. It's almost 30 years ago. So come on, like, let's just be a little bit more, rapid with these releases, or at the very least, don't tease them out for a year. That's weird.
Yeah, seriously, that's very strange.
And Mischief Makers absolutely should be in there. And again, I think there's still people who work at a company called Treasure. But you would think if there are people there, like being able to make deals to get stuff like that on Nintendo Switch Online would be a priority, but maybe not.
Right.
For me, it's Bomberman Hero. I like all the
Bomberman games are great on N64.
They're surprisingly good. I think at the time they were it was hard for people to like figure out exactly how they felt about them, because Bomberman worked one way on the Super Nintendo, and then there was even the Saturn Bomberman was really popular when these Bombermans started coming out, and that was 2D plane sprites, and maybe you could have 8 players all on one map, and it was really good. That stuff, those games are very, very good. But then the N64 ones come along, and they're like, we're gonna have 3D kind of walk anywhere Bomberman multiplayer, and that was weird and interesting. I think it's actually pretty good. But Bomberman Hero has a surprisingly good campaign, and actually like a pretty good 3D puzzle platformer thing going that I really enjoy. And I just like the Bomberman character, and he looks really good in Bomberman Hero. Just kind of like they figured out how to get that model down to a T and get the textures right on him and stuff. So he just looks really good. And I just think it controls well and it's fun, and kicking a bomb in 3D spaces, it works really well in that game because it's got a little bit of auto targeting. So it's gonna like zoom in like a magnet to where you want it to go, and that always felt good. So yeah, and the levels are small enough so that you're collecting the little tokens to be able to drop 5, 6, 7, 8 bombs at a time. And of course, that's always great. And you can set up these great chain reactions. So just a big fan of that. I've definitely considered some other ones, but I know we got a lot from the community. So I'm going to hold off on giving some of my others. If they don't get mentioned, then I'll drop them. So with that, Ash Guy, let's go to the podcast producers who have given us a lot to work with.
Crangus McBasketball says, "This is Miyamoto. Does Blast Core count?" Fuck it, I'm saying Blast Core. I think so. So it's hard, right? Because I feel like a lot of the hidden gems we have surfaced to the top because they had to, because it was a smaller library. So what doesn't feel like a hidden gem to a lot of people listening to the show may be for most other people. And I think Blast Core is one of those games, like, if that could show up on NSO, I think a lot of people would discover it for the first time and be really delighted by it, because that was a cool game. Very cool game. Yes,
it's one that didn't turn into a franchise, doesn't have brand recognition. So it's definitely in the spirit of this. I definitely know our audience is going to know. We talk about Blast Core a lot, but that counts.
The Boulder Gate Wolf 5 says, "Not really a hidden gem per se." Well, you're invalid. I'm skipping. No, I'm just kidding. But Paper Mario is so damn good. I genuinely don't get how many RPGs don't take inspiration from Paper Mario with the innovations it brought to the genre. Why the hell were random encounters still a thing after Paper Mario? They literally figured out that issue in 2000. You know, I think Mike said this, and I'm of the same mind. I almost resented Paper Mario because I just wanted Mario RPG 2. And I was like, well, we're not going to get that now.
Right there with you.
So I've never actually, I've fired this game up, but I've never truly played it before.
I played it, and I think I rented it, but I might have bought it at the time. This has got to be right around when I was getting my first-ish job. And I was just like, I'm trying to love this the way I love Super Mario RPG, and it's not happening. I definitely, I always carry that resentment when the thing I want, when the next thing isn't like the thing I loved. So yeah, but it's a solid game. And of course, Thousand Year Door solves a lot of it just like takes it to 11. It makes Paper Mario its own thing worthy of succeeding Super Mario RPG.
Right. Evo Janice says, "The Pokemon Gen 1 emulator where you can unlock 4x speed inside of Pokemon Stadium. It is the best way to play Gen 1 Pokemon games." I'd forgotten about this, but it unlocked like one of those core memories, and this is true. It was really, really cool.
So okay, the Pokemon Gen 1 emulator inside of Pokemon Stadium?
If I'm thinking this right, and Sean, correct me if I'm wrong. So you had the transfer pack, and you're firing up Pokemon Stadium. You had your copy of Pokemon Blue in there. And then you could just play the game on your TV off your cartridge, but it had like this speed up option that could if you were just grinding the Elite Four or something, oh my god, it was wonderful. You just blasted through it.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Jeff, it sort of worked like, the Retron devices, how they actually like dump the cartridge, runs it in emulation, and then saves it back to the cartridge. That's what they did on the N64.
That's weird as hell. I love that.
Way ahead of his time. And
that's
very
really cool. Okay, very fun.
All right, Screaming Madden says, "Not super hidden, but Mario Golf feels like it gets ignored compared to Mario's other N64 spin-offs. Yet this one is my favorite for its simple but fun golfing. It was Camelot's first N64 game after they made Hot Shot Golf on PS1, and this is just HSG, even taking HSG's signature versus mode to unlock more golfers, but with Mario characters and a few original characters like Plum and Sunny."
Yeah, I loved Mario Golf on the N64. Even then, though, I think by the time I played it, I was already playing the Game Boy Color Mario Golf game and expecting an RPG. Not that I held it against Mario Golf at the time. This was a solid game.
Yeah. Jackie G says, "This is Miyamoto. It's pretty niche, so I doubt you've heard of it. But there's this game called Ocarina of Time that's pretty neato. That game has a lot of hidden gems in it. Green ones, blue ones, red ones."
Okay. I see what we're doing here.
Yeah. Beefhammer, ally of AJ Minotti, says, "Without a doubt, the best snowboarding game on the N64 ever devised by mankind. Snowboard Kids."
How dare you, Beefhammer? Snowboarding, it's okay.
I know I played this game, but I can't remember anything about it.
Yeah, I definitely,
because I remember thinking how the characters kind of look like Rayman, but they're not.
And like snowboarding was in general, it was like really popular at the time. It was a relatively young thing, and then so we got a bunch of snowboarding games, and something about it's like, well, yeah, you try all of these eventually. Like you gotta try them all. It's a new snowboarding game, so I definitely played it, but I had already been 1080 pilled at that point.
Alex says Battle Tanks 2 is some top tier 90s edge.
This is one of mine.
Top, sounds awful and looks awful too. I loved it.
Same.
Also had a green cartridge, whatever the hell those were called, which was neat.
I think about Battle Tanks for the N64 all the time. I think it's definitely one of those. Oh man, we just got done watching WCW Monday Night Nitro. And I got some friends over still, and I'm going to play some Battle Tanks on the TV, or maybe they go home and I'm just playing Battle Tanks by myself for some reason. It's like these levels are okay-ish, and the action is pretty decent. It's I don't know, something about it is so of its time. I really have a fondness for Battle Tanks.
If I played it, I can't picture it. I keep thinking, what was the arcade game that was in every arcade with the tanks in Tokyo or something?
Oh, I can't remember the name of it either.
Tokyo Wars, maybe. That's what I have in my head, so I can't get that on my head. All right, Adam Juice has a good one that I also considered. Goemon's Great Adventure Rules. Pronounced Goemon. Goemon. Okay. Jeff.
Oh, interesting.
Sorry,
okay.
that was for me. Oh, I said Goemon. Okay, I was wrong.
Goemon.
4 playable characters, an amazing soundtrack, and the most memorable game over screen I've ever experienced. He has a video of this game over screen. I don't know if you want to.
Well, let's keep going, and I'll bring it back here in a second once I get it set up.
Cool. Matt Rare Monkey says Lode Runner 3D. It isn't as good as the old broader button Lode Runner for old computers, but it's still a pretty good 3D version of it. Do you like Captain Toad Treasure Tracker? Because Lode Runner 3D was basically Captain Toad beforehand at home version.
That's I've always seen this game. I still don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I've
never played it, but yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna check this out.
I've seen it, but yeah, I've never actually played
Interesting.
it. All right. Bench JC says it's not hidden. Most not known N64 games are bad, but I've got to go with Wolf. I recently played Paper Mario a few weeks ago, and it was an absolute delight.
Oh, Paper Mario is fantastic. Actually, it really. Right. It holds up in a big way because of the visual style. So it's going to be one of the easier N64 games to go back to.
Right. Adam GC says, also not hidden, but I feel like there's still enough stench around the whole episode 1 part of Star Wars Episode 1 Racer that keeps from being recognized one of the platform's best racing games or games period. I love Racer.
Me too. I'm a big fan of it. I
mostly played it on Dreamcast because it looked better.
Great. Here's for video viewers watching the game over screen of Goemon, and it's a muscular Satan and a Speedo flexing. Man, Japan is so important. They have the coolest things. This is so awesome.
Alrighty. Jamie H 1224 says, whenever an N64 topic comes up, I'm always going to use it to call out Space Station Silicon Valley. Still worth experiencing today, and hopefully it gets a second life on NSO. I really need to go check this game out.
This is one where I think about playing it on Giant Bomb a lot. I've never really played it, and I know that people have a fondness for it, and I'm like, this is DMCA Designs, right? Not DMCA, DMA Designs.
Yes, you meant.
Yeah. And so yeah, Proto, like before their Grand Theft Auto stuff really took off. So yeah, I've always been curious about it, and I know people like it. I really don't know why though, because I've never really looked into it beyond that.
Mr. Bowler says the N64 had a lot of racing games. The one I really enjoyed was Rush 2 Extreme Racing USA, the sequel to San Francisco Rush. The Alcatraz level was my favorite racing level, but I probably spent most of my time the stunt level, trying to launch my car as high as I could. Also, this game had Mountain Dew cans to collect on the tracks. This game ruled. Ruled.
I don't know if I played Rush 2 Extreme Racing. The 2 having an American flag background, by the way, very cool. I played a ton of Rush 2049, I think.
Yes,
which
that was
also
I
ruled.
played more in the Dreamcast, but yeah,
that also
really
ruled and had a great stunt track. Man, I have not played a Rush racing game in forever, and I think I should go back.
I actually fired up 2049 on my Steam Deck,
Ooh, that's a good
Dreamcast
idea.
version, and I was like, oh man, this takes me right back.
Okay.
Because like the cruising games were kind of probably the bigger ones on N64, but I always liked the Rush games. I thought they just had a certain je ne sais quoi.
I agree.
Velocity Prime 1 says, are there any actual hidden gems on the N64? It only had 300 odd games over its lifespan, and most of them have been properly evaluated. I guess I'll still throw my hat out to Sin and Punishment, the actual best rail shooter on the platform.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think we mentioned this. It's a difficult thing, but there are definitely overlooked games. And then if you want to, you could be like, yeah, so there's 300 odd games came out here. There are some cool Japanese games like that V Pro Wrestling that they made after No Mercy, after No Mercy, and so it's like they had all these lessons that they learned and they applied it on yet another game, and it's actually even better, and it's got a great modding scene and stuff like that. So yeah, there's still some stuff worth calling out.
All right, casual but on holiday says the N64 is my least favorite Nintendo console, but it gave us this gem. Much like the other Goemon games mentioned here earlier, the soundtrack is way better than it has any right to be, and the humor is quirky AF. He's referring to Mystical Ninja featuring Goemon.
Yeah, this is the one I rented a bunch of times.
Mm-hmm. Spoon Heaven 64 says, hey Jeff and today's co-host replacing Mike while he's on the Love Boat. My hidden gem was my go-to rental at Blockbuster whenever I was expecting a snow day. Say it with me, Jeff. Beetle Adventure Racing.
Yes, I love this game. This is another one of mine. At this point, this is one of those well-known hidden gems. Overlooked only because it was a licensed Volkswagen Beetle racing game. But right away,
the Blockbuster.
Yeah, right away. So I mean, I was reading EGM every month, and I'd be looking for games from the review crew. And this one, I don't know if it got like an editor's choice, but I think it got like strong 8.5s and stuff like that from everybody. And when that happens, I'm like, this is safe to spend my money on. And I got it, and I'm like, well, this is even better than I think they were saying. It's just such a good racing game. This is one they could put out today with a little bit of like a touch-ups here and there, and it would still mostly hold up.
Yeah, just gotta get that license.
Yeah.
All right, Slane says, Jikyo GI Stable, a Japanese horse racing game so unbeatable it made the Beast 721 take a break from his N64 challenge.
Yeah. I need to go watch. Does the Beast have like edited down like replays of some of these longer games?
I don't know. I have to admit, I've never gotten into these videos yet. I haven't had the time.
Yeah.
But I know Mike is a big fan.
Yeah, I'm very curious about this one.
Mm. Spooky Dad Boo says, no clue if it holds up, but I played Road Rash 64 a ton with my uncle back in the day, so that's my answer. I loved Road Rash. I had it on the 3DO, and that was just, I don't know, there's something about that game that always just clicked with me. It was like Outrun, but with chains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I was like that.
Road Rash 64 published by THQ. It's just such an EA franchise to me.
Right.
And I think EA still has the rights, so even this must be some weird thing. I remember like being a little bit excited for this game, and then I think I saw the box art and was like, that looks weird. So I don't know if I ever actually played this. Art. Yeah, it's bad. It's weird.
All right, Fish in Love says, this is Miyamoto, and I'm here to say that I wholeheartedly agree with Velocity Prime's assessment. Because of its incredibly small library, it's really hard to have any hidden gems for the N64. With that being said, my vote is going to go to Pokemon Puzzle League for simply being paneled upon with a very lazy Pokemon skin, still the best N64 puzzler. I like Pokemon Puzzle League.
Yeah, Pokemon Puzzle League. I mean, listen, paneled upon is great.
As a big mark for Pokemon back in the day, that very lazy Pokemon skin totally worked for me.
Right, and that was the Pokemon anime skin, right? That was like the one N64 game that brought that stuff in.
That was the big deal. Yeah, you had all the voice actors, the music, it was all there.
So it's like kind of cool, actually, in some way. Sure, be lazy if that's what you're going to do with it.
Right. Tokyo Game Life says, Rakuga Kids from Konami. It's a 2D fighter with graphics that resemble kids' drawings. It was only released in Japan and Europe, but it's worth trying to experience the crazy animations. This looks interesting. I've never heard of this, but like this screenshot he shared, it looks like a weird mix of Yoshi's Island and Parappa the Rapper.
Yeah, it looks very interesting. I might see if I can get this in some form so I can play it at Dan's house when we're there in Minneapolis.
There you go. All right. Bopka Anderson says, may not be a hidden gem depending on who you ask, but Diddy Kong Racing doesn't get the love it deserves. Yes, Mario Kart 64 is incredible, but what Rare did was also incredible, especially how they managed to balance all the tracks and karts pretty well. I always thought it was fun how you could be any of the 3 vehicle types, kart, boat, or plane on every track. Sonic Racing Transformed kind of did that, but it was fixed which vehicle you're in. So
right,
it was
interesting changes
that,
for
like,
you, right? Is that how the Sonic
this
works?
one was like, I'm going to be in a plane. I'm going to pick a boat because I think it's faster in this level, and that was the fun meta game of it, was trying to figure out which conveyance was best for each track.
Yeah, I love Diddy Kong Racing. I think that if they announce another round of N64 games coming in Nintendo Switch Online, this should be among the first.
Absolutely. All right. Isaac Clark says, not a hidden gem, but bring back translucent consoles. Amen. He has a screenshot of the translucent purple N64 and all the colors of controllers that they released around that time. That was good stuff.
Damn it.
Damn it.
He's everywhere.
Damn it.
Yeah, I think I was talking to someone recently about translucent consoles, and they mentioned it's like, hey, it's a hard thing to actually get right. That the plastics you need to do it are difficult to track down, and you have to mess around with a lot of them. But once you have it, it's not that much more expensive, and it's worth doing, and you learn a lot of ways of doing it right. So I think more manufacturers are coming around and bringing this style back, which I love.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mars D95 says, I never hear enough praise for this gem of a game. So many hours spent after middle school playing with buddies. It is Gauntlet Legends.
There's my other one. Cool too. Yep, another one of my favorite hidden gems. I think Gauntlet Legends is a really good multiplayer cooperative game for the N64.
I always said, say what you will on the N64, but having 4 controller ports built in was so important to that system's success at the time, because it was, even though I had a multi-tap for my Genesis and the Super Nintendo, it was just so much better. Just have those 4 ports, plug your controllers. You're playing WWF No Mercy, you're playing GoldenEye, you're playing Gauntlet, no problem.
Yep, it was it was the right console for anybody that had friends, and that's at that period of my life, it couldn't have been a better fit.
Same. All right, Lenny Cool Dick Denver says, I need to find my box copies, but Custom Robo V1 and V2 are pretty fun. V1 has an English patch, but V2's fan translation got canceled. Fun mech fighting games with local multiplayer.
I think I played the GameCube version of...
I was going to say, the character looks familiar.
Yeah, I wonder if the GameCube version is actually just a kind of a port of these games, now that I think about it. But yeah, it was fun. It was fine.
All right, Wong Gifs says, this is tough because there are only about 5 good games on the N64, a console that somehow has a worse library than the Saturn. But I'll go with Body Harvest, which is super ugly and janky, but was basically Rockstar's prototype for GTA and lets you attack a giant alien in a biplane like you're Randy Quaid in Independence Day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is another one I've always heard good things about and never really messed around with.
Mm-hmm. Teriyaki Blues says, is it a hidden gem? Maybe, but Bomberman 64 is a solid game that gets looked over. Good 3D levels, entertaining boss fights, a soundtrack that's way better than it should be, along with incredibly fun multiplayer. Again, those 4 ports, man. We played a lot of Bomberman 64.
Yep, it ruled.
Big Tony says, my dogs. Everyone always talks about WCW, NWO Revenge, and WWF No Mercy, but WWF WrestleMania 2000 was also very good and has a great intro.
Was that Aki? I suppose it probably was. It's THQ, so yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I've never touched this one.
I didn't even play that much No Mercy. Me and my friends were WCW NWO kids.
Yeah, same. That's
my
what
one
I
friend
played.
Ben. That's the one he had. We played that one constantly.
Yep. I mean, objectively, No Mercy has more modes and more characters, and it is a better game. But it's they were all part of the same lineage. So those WCW games were really the fundamental gameplay was basically just as good. And then I was just a WCW guy back then.
Chuck 1991 says, greetings, what eat this butt, boys. Or eat that butt, boys. Sorry. My N64. I screwed it up. No. My N64 hidden gem is Resident Evil 2. As if it wasn't impressive enough to port a 2-disc PS1 game to a 64 megabit cartridge and include all FMV cutscenes, they included additional content. The N64 version includes alternate costumes, additional hidden documents, as the only version including an official item randomizer. So any surprise factor 5 assisted with this port. That makes perfect sense. Those guys are wizards, or were wizards.
They really, for every game where you're like, how did that fit on the N64? Usually factor 5 is involved. Yeah, I wish they were still around.
I know. Stupid dragon game that I don't remember the name of. What was it called? Don't come to me.
Oh, Infinity, just real quick in chat, Jason Schreier's reporting that GTA 6 will be revealed next week. That goes, I've heard similar things. Yeah, okay, wow. I didn't believe it though.
See, you could have been the scooper.
All right, well,
now you're just the pooper.
Yeah, well, that's always who I'm gonna be.
Right. Inufe says Ogre Battle 64 might be one of the only hidden gems for this rotten system, with only 296 games released in North America. I've never played that game either. I didn't know what it was. I assumed it had something to do with fighting ogres. So imagine my surprise when I found out that's not what it was at all. Not it at all.
No, I liked Ogre Battle 64. Yeah, that was a good, solid game.
Clink says, is this gem hidden or just all the collectibles in it? Donkey Kong 64.
Yeah, I think that the fun is what's hidden in that game. Got it. Yeah, let's fucking go.
Chaos Buckaroo says Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest doesn't get the notoriety the SNES games or first N64 game got. It was the first to include MLB players' names, which makes a big difference to fans. A very solid arcadey baseball game.
Yeah, Nintendo's sports games, like the real sports games, all through this period, the Super Nintendo and N64 were surprisingly good. The Kobe Bryant basketball game was good.
I just read a pretty good history of the Ken Griffey series. Oh God, I forget where it was. It was from a couple years ago. I discovered it like last month, but it was fascinating because the studio who did it was based out of England, but the director from the game was from the States, so he had to move to England. So he like went out to England to get established, meet the team, get them started, then came back to the States to like pack all his shit and move. So he gets to England settled, and they're like, "Okay, we got the first prototype." He's like, "Great, let me see it." And the pitcher pitches the ball and it starts bouncing towards home plate because they're all like, all they knew was cricket. He's like, you guys don't know how to play baseball, do you? And they're like, no, we thought we got it from what you said. He's like, oh God, okay. So they had to like teach this dev team the rules of baseball to make a baseball video game.
That's incredible. I love that.
Right. All right, Brock Ness Monster says, I remember playing this in middle school with my friends, and I don't even remember who owned it. It was just there, lol. And we all ended up having it. Iggy's Wrecking Balls.
Yep. And also that story of, like, I don't know where this game came from. God, it happened so many times.
Yeah, that really did.
Yep.
Super Harmon says, Extreme G. I don't know how good this game actually was, but I got it because the wait for F-Zero X was too long, and I recall having a lot of fun with it, especially when I play it while blasting Fear Factory on my stereo.
Hell yeah, Super Harmon.
I'm pretty sure we rented this a few times because again, it's looking familiar to me.
Yeah, I bought Extreme G. I was definitely in that same N64, a lot of racing games, and this was one of those sci-fi racing games that you would get if you were someone who cared about, oh man, they got Wipeout over there on PlayStation. What am I going to get? Well, we got Extreme G, and it turns out Extreme G was pretty good. Aero Gauge is another one where that was like, it looked like Wipeout, but it was actually, you were controlling not just like the x-axis, you could actually move on the y-axis up and down. Ooh. So you could like do side rolls and stuff like that, and that was actually really surprisingly good.
Nifty. Soji Kodo says Forsaken 64. This was essentially a tunnel-based FPS, but at the time I was really drawn towards being able to pilot a vehicle and fully move around in a 3D space while fighting other vehicles. I remember the soundtrack at the time was also pretty banger. I don't know if I've ever played this.
Yeah, I have played Forsaken, but not for the N64. Back then, that's like one of my first like 3D video games I played.
I'm trying to think if I played Forsaken. I can't picture it.
Mike's asking if I have Bomberman Hero and Bomberman 64 mixed up. I played Bomberman Hero and enjoyed it. And it's I think that's what I was thinking of. I mean, it has the mechanics that I enjoy. But I do also like Bomberman 64 for sure.
Mm-hmm. All right, Adam Asleep says, I will always fondly remember Star Wars Episode 1, Battle for Naboo. Released less than a year before the GameCube and 18 months after the movie, the still excellent Factor 5 team kept you away from Jar Jar and Little Orphan Annie, staying in Space Italy, helping resist the battle droids. Always looked down upon for its setting during Episode 1, still was a great Christmas farewell title for the N64. Good call, because Battle for Naboo does get kind of shit on. It was still a great Factor 5 Star Wars game.
Yep, I love Battle for Naboo, and it's surprisingly, again, the technical stuff. It's got full voice commentary from the director of the game on every level, where they'll walk you through as you're playing it. Battle for Naboo is a really good one, and I think the only detrimental thing that people point out is Episode 1. That's what they don't like.
Yep. Mex is the one who said, have to shout out to Mischief Makers for being a quirky platformer that has you shaking your way through each level and having one of the most memorable final boss fights in all of the N64 library.
Yep. Of course. I mean, this is just a great one.
Gigantes42 says, since Gauntlet Legends and Extreme G already got their flowers, I gotta give a shout out to Glover.
Glover's pretty okay.
Needs a shout out.
Yeah, but N64 version only, the PlayStation 1 is trash. It's really bad. Really, really bad.
I never played that PS1 version.
Yeah, so I only played it when Glover came to PC in like the last year, and they had both versions in there. And I tried the PS1 version there, and it's just so much worse than the N64 game.
IDK Ivan says there are multiple Bomberman adventures on the N64 and they're all bangers. My favorite is Second Attack, featuring Pommy, aka Kirby at Home, as a sidekick / player 2, who evolved into different forms depending on what foods you collected. This game came out later and didn't sell that well and is likely the rarest game on the platform.
Yeah,
I don't know if I did play this.
I don't think I ever played the Second Attack. I'll check it out because, like I said, I like those Bomberman games on the N64.
Mm-hmm. Willow Davis says Lego Racers. It might have been on PlayStation. Honorable mention to Clay Fighter 63 and a third. Clay Fighter, Clay Fighter. Come on, fight them if you dare. Yeah. IDKY Discord made the image link, but I can assure you it's a picture of Lego Racers. No need to download. Okay. JD Camp says they made a perfect game more perfecter. It's a hacked version of Ocarina of Time with Waluigi.
It's so beautiful.
The Ocarina of Time. Let's see. Legion 428 says NBA Jam 99. Not sure it's actually a good game, but my buddy and I would stay up late playing it constantly. I like this game for one very odd specific interaction that happened because I was playing it. My friend had it, and if I'm getting it right, this game it actually was 5v5 basketball. They're trying to be a little more serious. It was still very arcadey, but it had full blown commentary, and he would call every pass and shot and. I don't remember the players or the teams, but my buddy passed the ball, and the guy just said from morning to night, and for some reason that just set us off. We had to pause the game. We were laughing so hard that happened, and that's why I like NBA Jam 99.
Fantastic.
Dr. Ryan says Sting versus a semi-truck, the best wrestling game ever made. WCW NWO Revenge.
Yeah, I love this one, and I always love the cover of just Goldberg, Hogan, Nash, and then just Raven staring right at the camera like, yeah, I'm here too. What about it?
Pablo Cost says, with music composed by Jeff's beloved Tommy Tallarico, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I forget this came out to N64. I so associated with the PlayStation.
Yeah, it was, this was an okay game. It's just, boy, Spider-Man 2, how much better is that game for the next generation of consoles? But yeah, it turns out most of those Spider-Man games all throughout this period were pretty fun.
This one had a fun story because it brought in a lot of random Marvel characters, Captain America and Johnny Flame and stuff like that.
His whole cadre of villains was actually pretty fun to fight against here. Yeah.
All right, Dason Man 2 says, my picks were taken since this console is a small library, then a weekly drop of Switch games. But want to shout out Mickey Speedway USA, one of the lesser-known rare games. It's one of the best racers on the system and vastly outclasses Mario Kart 64. Also, this was my first comment after becoming a producer. Welcome.
Hey, thanks. I really appreciate it, Man 2. I've never played that game. Is this a favorite in the Minotti household?
again, it must have been late because I'm sure I've played it, but I can't like really vividly picture it or anything like that.
Wait,
so
Rare made this?
Yeah.
Yeah, he just said one of the lesser-known Rare games.
It's probably just the.
When you said that, I'm like, oh, one of the lesser-known Rare games. I'm like, I didn't realize Rareware.
Yeah.
Okay, that's wild. I'm gonna have to check this out. That's nuts. Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right, DMC Depressed Me Crying says K's Emmanuel has made some fantastic Mario 64 ROM hacks. Recently, I played one titled Peach's Fury, a Bowser's Fury-inspired sandbox that might be the best 3D platformer I've played since Odyssey.
That looks really good. That looks fantastic. I'm going to check that out. Peach's Fury.
G-Mancer says, I never understood when people said Nintendo 64 has no third-party games. It's Mario Party 3.
A third-party game. Okay. G-Mancer, you're in timeout.
He got it. Always Be Clothing / Corgi says, a Japan exclusive Disney Dance Dance Revolution game with such hits as the Tiki 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 Room, Electrical Parade, It's a Small World, and Chippendale's Vacation. Shout out to the 90s Disney podcast. Well, thank you. We had this on PlayStation. I don't know if it was a US release or if we imported it because we were known to do that. But it was all like kind of like not K-poppy, but just like poppy covers of these classic Disney songs. There was a very good Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious cover on this, and I do remember because there was an arcade version of this that they had at Tomorrowland in the Magic Kingdom. So Mike and I started playing it, and not like we're incredible at it or anything, but a crowd formed because we knew the song from playing it at home, and they were like, "Wow, look, these guys are really good." And we're like playing on medium difficulty or something because it was odd out, but we're like, "Ah, yes."
I think I've played this because, I played the songs that are in this because I got like the DDR PC hack that fans have made where it's just like
every song ever.
Yes, every song. You just plug in your USB mat into your PC and you just go. And these were actually surprisingly good, surprisingly fun. I had a good time with them.
Yeah. Warden Cliff says NBA Showtime, NBA on NBC was arcade basketball at its finest. I don't know. See, I probably play this, but it blends together with NBA Jam, so I can't distinctly remember it.
Yeah, I think I was definitely playing the Kobe Bryant game instead of this. I don't think I ever touched Showtime. Also, I think,
you godless heathen! What is wrong with you?
Is this one
this is that bad?
This is the best NBA Jam game, and people wrote it off because this was the 3D one. Yeah. This was the 3D one, and so everyone like wrote it off as not being the same.
I wrote it off because NBA on NBC is hokey, and they put that in your name.
It is. It is.
Wait, this was NBA Jam, but they just changed the name for some reason?
Yes. If you notice, this one says this is a Midway game.
Yeah, it's Midway.
The other NBA Jam was Acclaim.
Yeah.
Did John Biniaki work in this game?
What was that?
Is this a John Biniaki game? This is a...
Oh, yeah. This is probably the that time where... Dave Lang and all them were working at Midway. Yeah,
this might be a Dave Lang joint. This might be, yeah, that's cool.
This is back when they were probably getting ready to make Blitz the League in a couple of years, and they had fuck the NFL on a handful of years. Listen, I just wanted to tell the fuck the NFL story, all written all over their office, and I think they had someone important come in, and they had to like scrub it like really quickly before someone came in and saw it.
Oh, that was Ballers. You're right, Goldie. My bad. It was Ballers.
Ballers. Okay. Yes. That's a very different game.
Yes,
yeah.
That's very different.
All right. We got two more that are barely worth mentioning, but I'll read them anyway out of a sense of duty. Turbo Sean says the hidden part of this gem is the fact that it's actually good. Considering the cuts usually made to N64 ports, Mega Man 64 is surprisingly full-featured, even including the majority of the voice acting.
It's even as a N64 kid, I never played this one.
Mega Man Legends, and I'm sorry, Sean, I'm really upset you. It was a game I wanted to like so badly, and it was always just fine, but I never truly got into it.
I changed my mind. Mike is the best Minotti.
Yeah, you just wait till he insults your mother again or something. I don't know.
True.
All right, the last one's from Tolkoto. It's just a picture because he's lazy of Robotron 64.
I love this game. Robotron 64 is fucking awesome.
It's a very good game.
It's so good. There was a similar game on PlayStation, but on N64 you could just get Robotron 64 by itself, not in a package with something else, and it was just excellent. They did a really good job with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I fucked your mom.
Okay.
There it is. See?
Jesus.
All right. Yep.
Just wildly inappropriate.
Ash Guy, thank you so much for reading all those. I really appreciate it, man. I know it's a lot to go through,
course.
especially as you're getting your voice back or getting over a little sinus infection.
I'll vouch for these Mucinex InstaSoothe
Okay.
cough drops. Next time you are under the weather, press Mucinex.
There it is, man. Hope the check clears. All right, let's just get into it. Ash Guy, what have you been playing?
Just that Mario wonder.
How are you
I haven't
finding
beaten it yet. It is phenomenal.
It's so good. I love it.
The most astounding thing about that game to me is that I am floored at how good the online features are, which is a weird thing to say about any Nintendo game, but especially a Mario game. Just the whole kind of From Software Dark Souls like thing with the signposts, but then even like the weird co-op-y things that emerge from the kind of ghost players playing along with you. I thought it was going to be like literal, like just ghost recordings. I didn't realize they're going to be real time.
Yep.
So I'm playing the game early on, and there's someone who's Toadette, and she is just mashing her head on the ceiling somewhere, and keeps kind of going towards me and then going back and jumping on this ceiling. I'm like, she's trying to tell me something. So I go over there and I hit the ceiling, and there's a hidden block that had a vine come down to take me to a secret area. I'm like, oh my God, like that's so cool. So we both go down there and we get all these coins and find the purple coin that was hiding down there. And she's doing the little smiley emoji and I'm doing the one back. And I'm like, this is like, why is this the best co-op experience I've had this year in a video game, in a Mario platformer? There was another level. It was a really tricky castle level. And there were me and two other ghosts, and we were just leapfrogging off each other. Like if someone died, the other two of us would stop, we'd go get them, and we together completely organically worked our way through this very tricky level. And again, it's like, this just works. Like we don't need to be able to talk to each other. We don't need to know each other's names. We're just kind of having this fun gameplay experience. It's to the point where if I'm playing it away from the internet, it does feel like I'm missing something when that's not turned on. It's fascinating to me that they nailed that so well. Yeah,
I had the exact same experience where I like to be challenged, but something about it, like, I'm not turning this off. This is too much fun to get in a scenario where, what I would tell myself is I'll be the one saving people, and I'm going to save this person. I did a lot of that, and people would be very thankful. But no, as soon as I was in a bad situation and I saw someone, of course I floated over to them as a ghost, had them rescue me, and I was so thankful. And I'm spamming the emojis to the smiley face, smiley face, smiley face, and they're spamming it back at me. And then we're like, all right, so we're partnering up for the rest of the level, right? Like, yep, here we go. Now we're best friends, and we're gonna get through the rest of this level together. That rules. That is such a great feeling. It is.
Like one of my favorite things to do is if I find like an invisible block, I immediately jump up on it, plant my little flag, and everyone knows, like, why is that flag floating up there? There must be a block. And then they find it, and I'm like, they got it. Like the self-satisfaction that comes from that is just, it's really, really remarkable that, like, of all people, Nintendo got that right.
Yeah, and it's I think it's also a reminder, like, of how much of a canvas Mario can be. It's, this is still a 2D Mario game, right? But you can bring in all these things that are working in FromSoft games and elsewhere and just apply it to Mario, and it will just work. And it works better than just about any other game that's tried this stuff. I love that game. And of course, it really helps that everything else about it is the highest quality 2D platforming you can really ask for. So yeah.
Right. I mean, the only thing I could think that I would like to see them improve upon, if they do like a Wonder 2 or just keep like this style going, like, the first time Mario goes in the pipe and like reaches back and grabs his hat and yanks it, that's phenomenal. But then it's like, oh, he does that every time. It'd be cool if they had some like variety of the animations. Like that's something they could build upon for the next one. If I'm gonna nitpick something, I want more.
Yep.
The other thing too is when they do announce these VGA nominees, that guy who's the voice of the flowers better be nominated for performance of the year.
Wow, really good point. I didn't even think about that. All right,
because
I gotta add that too.
They could be so annoying, and they're not. And
it's
so
not
much
even
of that
close
guy's
to annoying. It's amazing.
Flawless.
Yes,
he is so effortless playing all these flowers. If you see one, you go out of your way to run by it so it says something. Like I don't want to miss anything they have to say. Again, it just adds so much charm to the game, and it's phenomenal. Now I haven't introduced it to my kids yet. and I'm hesitant to.
Sure. Yeah.
Until they all get their own copies for Christmas, because it's going to have the same problem I had with New Super Mario Brothers with them, where the game's like, oh, for your kids, they could be Nabbit and Yoshi and they can't die. I'm like, my kids don't want to be Nabbit. They want to be Toadette. They want to be Mario. They want to be Luigi. Like, they don't want to be Yoshi, who can't turn into an elephant. I don't understand why they're so weird about that. Like, just let me turn on kid mode for Mario. Let my son be Mario, and if he runs into a Goomba, he'll be fine. He's 5. Who cares? Mm-hmm. So it's weird they do that. I think it'll actually be easier to, if they all have their own copy, to then just play the multiplayer detached like that than trying to do the shared screen, where, again, it's like if someone gets ahead, the camera follows them now, but then it zooms back to my son for some reason, and then we all get confused, and now everyone's yelling at each other. We got a little bit of that with Disney Illusion Island. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but we were getting there. I won't even try it with Sonic. Based on what I saw that game.
No, it's a true nightmare. It's we tried Mario with the kids. They really wanted it to work, and it's not gonna work that way. I think doing what you're doing, getting everyone their own copy, that'll be a great way to experience that. It's a shame it has to work that way, but I think that's one thing they really need to kind of continue to figure out, that local co-op, if they're going to keep putting it in here. And just real quick, I had to time out someone in chat. His name's Mike Minotti. He said, you should give that guy his flowers. Speaking about the flower voice actor, and we won't accept puns around here. This is not going to fly.
This is a serious podcast.
It's a serious podcast. Exactly. Any other thoughts about Mario?
Again, I'm glad they finally pulled the ripcord on like a new art style and just evolving everything. It'd be interesting to see if they could take this style 3D next. How cool would it be if the next 3D Mario game had this much charm and personality and kind of just animation to it? So yeah, it's I always knew it was going to be good, but like I'm constantly surprised and delighted at how good it is. Like I'm just playing with a smile on my face the whole time.
Same. Yep. It's just them strutting their stuff, and they earned it because they put so many great ideas into that game, and it all really pays off. I have played WarioWare. WarioWare Smooth Moves. Is this one, or is this Shake It? What? God, I can't even keep the name straight. Either way, it's the new one for the Switch.
I was out a super chat for you, giving you money. That's like, oh, you've been timed out. You can't. Yeah, so go fuck yourselves. I'll just come in here and say what I want.
Mods, can you guys? Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I don't know what happened there.
Thank you.
Weird. Weird.
Move it. I don't know what happened.
It, by the way,
disconnected.
Thank you. Move it. WarioWare Move It. We watched Dan play through basically the whole kind of story mode on UPF last week, and I was like, I already have this. I'm going to do that myself. So the kids today were we were trying to kill some time because Steph was out having a work meeting, and so we were like, we're waiting for her to get home, and then we're all going to go get in the van and vote. So I'm like, I should get that so we could talk about it. And I'm like, you guys want to come watch me play a video game? And they, that's sometimes exciting for Emmy, who is still in a little bit of a phase of, I don't like video games, but I do like watching Dad play video games. She's like, yeah, sure, we'll do that. And I booted up. She's like, wait, is this a Mario game? She's not into Mario anymore. I'm like, it's Wario, all right? And she's like, yeah, but he's from Mario. But then she started seeing me do the silly poses and doing all that stuff. And then it was... very quickly, I'm looking over to the side, and whenever I'm doing something, they're doing it as well now. They're mimicking. They're basically playing along without a controller. So I handed her the controller, and she got a pretty decent at it. It's still a little bit much to figure out exactly when the game is calling to say, hey, do the big cheese pose. It's like, okay, yeah, that one's easy. But now do this pose where like you need to hold the Joy-Cons in your hand without like actually gripping them. And now drop one, and then for the next time, get it back in your hand the way you're supposed to hold it correctly, and hold it up like in the choo-choo pose. And that's a little bit challenging for her.
She's going on.
Yeah, so like she's going to pick the controller back up, and it might be upside down, and she's not necessarily recognizing that that's what's happening, and then that throws everything off. But she was able to have a good enough time with it, and the fact that she wanted to play it, I thought was pretty interesting. I love WarioWare. I think the presentation of the game is really good. It's always fun to see these games that I've been playing for so long that they go back to the Game Boy Advance, be in HD, and that just looks really nice and sharp. And I think this is a game that is fine on your own, but it does seem like the multiplayer mode is got, we messed around with it just a tiny bit, just a little bit, just to see, and I'm like, oh, this looks like it has some promise. So it's like hard to recommend for someone who's like, I like WarioWare games. Is this a WarioWare game like WarioWare Gold for the 3DS? And it's just not going to do that for you. It's not going to provide you the, oh, I can have this a fun, really elongated experience where I'm going through all of these micro games all in one setting. It's like, no, it's a pretty limited experience unless you are going to be playing with other people. But for what is there, I really like it. I had a really good time. I think it's fun to be doing the Bacall pose where you got the one Joy-Con on a nose, you got your tail feather, and then your wife walks in and sees it, and she's just like, nothing surprises me anymore with your job. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, big WarioWare fan, and I like this game. I think it's pretty good. Cool. Sean, you played some of the multiplayer of this, right, with your friends? You said.
I haven't played it, but I've watched others play.
Okay, and
I was watching people stream over the weekend.
And you said it looked like a good time. It's completely different than what we might be expecting, or maybe not completely different, but.
Well, if you haven't played WarioWare, it's not what you're expecting. If you have played WarioWare in the past, especially like the GameCube ones in particular, then it's what you're expecting, because it's like you go into the mode and it's like you'll do a board game, or you'll do like there's one called was it Listen to the Doctor, I think it is, where the doctor will say, hey, do this mini game, but you have to like hop up and down on one leg, or something like that, and everyone else has to keep you honest. And so it's an interesting, like,
that sounds cool.
They didn't have to do a ton of programming there, but it makes for really good party game content, I think. So yeah, it seems like a bunch of fun, and I'm gonna be hanging out with friends in person pretty soon here, so we're definitely gonna pick it up and play a bunch of this, because we love the WarioWare games.
Yeah, we mentioned this to Dan about Extra Life, and he's like, maybe that should be the first thing we play. So we'll see. The Extra Life's still a little bit away, and things can change, but we're almost certainly going to be playing that game, and I can't wait. I really like the Wii one. That one is Smooth Moves, right? And that's yeah, and that's a ton of fun as a party game where you can have like 15 people playing, and you just pass the Wii remote around and just go until there's only one person left. That's a lot of fun. So looking forward to this. But other than that, not a lot of time for Switch games. Got some other hardware in that I'm working on, and got some then obviously a million games coming out. So just keeping busy, but we'll talk about most of that on Decides. Well, yeah, most of that should be good by the time we get to Decide. So tune into that. Ash Guy, you're going to join me again on Thursday, right? For that, right?
I'm here, man.
I appreciate that. That's going to be excellent. Before we get out of here, a bunch more super chats came in, I believe. You want to read those for me?
Thank you, everybody. No, you have to.
Oh, that's right. Yes, thank you for reminding me. Let's see, where did I leave off? Okay, let's see. Here we go. From Jason Fulton. Nope, there we go. From Mikey O'Leary. Nope, still going down here. M and Goldie. I was late, so I guess it's my fault. How do we have an N64 hidden gem list with no mention of Buck Bumble theme song? We failed as a community. Yeah, I definitely thought about mentioning Buck Bumble, but I'm like, that's not a hidden gem. Yeah, that's a
good theme song. I guess.
Definitely very good theme song. Let's see, L Grug. While this year isn't over yet, would you say this year or 2017 had a better Switch game lineup? It's tough. It's close. I would probably end up going with this year, but in a couple of years, we'll see if I change my mind. How about you?
Right. Yeah, I mean, 2023 overall has been such an incredible year for games, so I feel like that colors it a little bit as well, just the overall quality of gaming. And, it's Wonder has some recency bias for me, but I'm probably going to give the edge to this year, too.
Yep, exactly how I'm thinking, where it's like, yeah, I really like these games, but maybe there's some recency bias there. Okay, from Visualizer, enjoy your legal weed, boys. And then the tree emoji. Congratulations, Ohio. We did it, and we don't have to give all the money to Nick Lachey like last time. Yeah, so that vote, it seemed like it was going to go through. It's I don't know. I haven't been paying attention, but has it?
Yeah, last I saw it was up. Here, I have it ready to refresh, but you could keep.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next one's related. So
and also, legal abortion still on the table here in Ohio. We got. Shout outs to a lot of people voting in favor of that. So just can feel good about raising kids here.
Yeah, let's see. With 80% reporting issue 1, which is the abortion issue, as 55.5% yes. And issue 2, the legalized marijuana issue, is at 56.1%.
All right. Fantastic. Hey, you Peekaboo, is Ohio good now? Listen, let's not get crazy. And I mostly say that because when I lived in a state where that people thought was good, it eventually became bad because it became so overpopulated. So no, Ohio's still bad. Don't come here. No. Like Minotti says, so everyone on Revengeance agreed that the Switch is the best console ever, right? Mike, I needed you there so bad. And Dan didn't show up either. It's like me, you, and Dan were like, we should have that conversation. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm like walking in and a bus just fucking hits me. And they're like, the Switch stinks. And so they weren't like that. But it felt like that.
Say that.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know.
Those podcast chuckle fucks were like, no, the 360 is so much better. I'm like, what are you talking about?
So I like the 360 a lot, but come on.
Ain't nobody going back to play 360 games?
Yep.
Get out of here.
Even imagine it.
The fuck is
Not me. I don't know.
So there's some deep bass in my ears all of a sudden.
That was
scary.
what's that?
No idea. But hey, listen, Mike, we'll get our revenge at some point. And that's the giant Bombcast Revengeance, everybody. It's our new podcast. It's in the Bombcast feed that we do later in the week now. So we'll be doing it on Thursday this week because we have Friday off. Dicene says, last minute N64 entry. Can we all agree that RTS games don't play well on the N64, but StarCraft 64 is what opened that entire genre up to me? Yeah, that was a surprisingly acceptable port of that game.
Competent is the other word. I mean,
Yes.
the split screen was funny because it had that, like, okay, we can see what each other's doing, so it's just gonna be kind of like a first to the finish situation.
Right, yeah.
But it did work. If you didn't have a PC and you wanted to experience that story, totally fine way of doing it.
Absolutely. And then Mikey O'Leary, you know what? I should birthday text since it's tomorrow. Thanks for the content, boys. Oh, you didn't have to do that, Mikey, but happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Thanks for always showing up, Mikey. We really appreciate you always hanging out with us. And you have a good, safe birthday. Treat yourself to something nice and all that stuff. That does it for the super chats. So I think what we're going to do now is I'm going to hit this button right here and
push the button.
Ash Guy, where can people find you on the internet?
I am on Twitter at AdgeGuy and Threads AdgeGuy711 because some guy's been squatting on AdgeGuy 2 months before I got there. And 90s Disney, where you talk about 90s Disney stuff with my brothers, Mike and Chris. Our latest episode is on It's Tough to Be a Bug, the 3D theme park show based off of A Bug's Life. And it's a really good time. And when Mikey gets back, we're going to talk all about his cruise and trip to Disney World for our bonus episode this month.
Oh, that'll be fun.
How about you?
Yeah, 90s Disney, everybody. Make sure you subscribe. Giant Bomb. Thanks again, everybody, for the support. If you want to keep supporting us, patreon.com/game mess. All the support that has been coming in there has been fantastic. Definitely get in on that stuff if you haven't. And, if you've been supporting us other ways, like just by telling people friends, that's great as well. We're going to get out of here, everybody. Have a good one. Take care of yourself and goodbye. Bye-bye.
Is that thing for real?
What is this, Jeff? What is this, Jeff?
What is it, Jeff?
It's a I have to poop.
Super Bow Hill, let's go!
We're coming.
They are going to come for Zelda.
Bruh.